This is the first in a series of videos that I have created in order to help you get through Prelab1. A couple of notes before we actually get into the map making to accomplish Prelab1. First of all, I typically use a Mac, but here you can see I'm obviously using Windows, and ArcGIS is only available on Windows. So what I've done is I have actually installed Windows on my Mac using something called a virtual machine, and then installed ArcGIS on that. So I'm running Windows and ArcGIS on my Mac. If you're interested in doing that, which I assume some of you are, I've put some help files on how to do this on the Moodle website, and I'm happy to help you once you've given it a go yourself. I'm happy to try and help you get that set up as well. I know it can be a real pain in the butt having to do everything on a Windows machine when you're a Mac user, so I've tried to set that up to make it a little bit easier for you. The second thing is we're starting Prelab1, which is, in this video I'm going to show you how to make Prelab1, but that's assuming that you've already worked through the R script that I put up for you guys to work through that makes your buffer and your MCP based on your relocation points that you collected using Maverick on the tablets. So assuming that you've already worked through that script and have all the shape files that you need and downloaded the National Land Cover data set that is posted on the Moodle site as well, once you have all of those pieces of data, then we can start doing this. So once you have all of those, what you'll want to do is open up ArcGIS. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you which map you want to use. Most of what you guys will see will probably be blank. I do a lot of work in ArcGIS, so it's going to come up with a lot of different options for me. But what we'll do is we'll just hit cancel because we want to start with a clean slate, a clean map. So you can see here it's coming up with a bunch of options. So we'll hit cancel. And then the first thing we want to do once we have this clean map set up is you want to bring in your MCP and your buffer. So go to wherever those are. For me, I put them on Dropbox. And I organize things by the data type, so raster and shapefile. So I have MCP100 and MCP100 buffer. So what you should see should look something like this. This is my home range based on my relocation points collected in Maverick, and this is a 1,000-meter buffer created on the outside of that. So once those are in there, what you want to do is you want to check and make sure that they're in the right projection. They should be in UTM Zone 15 NAD 83. You can see here that they are, or that one is. Let's check the MCP 100. Yep, UTM zone NAD 83, and again you can kind of see how I did that. I right clicked on the file, went down to properties, and you're going to look under the source tab, and that should be up near the top of the projected coordinate system. So those are correct. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the raster data set. And it's going to look something like this. We don't really want, so I'll zoom out so you guys can see what the whole thing looks like. My home range is pretty small. The week and a half or so, 2 weeks that I was actually recording my location, I was working from home a lot, so I didn't even make it all the way into campus, as you can see, because my home range is down here. But one of the things we don't want to do is I don't want you guys submitting a map that looks like this. This is really useless information for the purposes of what we want to do, what the outcome of the lab is supposed to be. So let's go back to our original view here. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut out a portion of the National Land Cover data set that is on the inside of this buffer, so our home range or our minimum convex polygon. So I'm going to unclick that. So the tool that we're going to use to do that is called the Extract by Mask tool. In order to get that, we go up to Geoprocessing, and you're going to go down to Search for Tools, and it'll bring up a search toolbar over here on the right hand side of your screen, and you're just going to put in Extract by Mask. So for some reason this gets a little funky when I work with this in Windows. And the toolbars don't show up properly, so I have to kind of reorganize them a little bit. So you're just going to click the Extract by Mask tool, and you can see here it says unable to execute the selected tool. So that just simply means that we don't have the Spatial Analyst license currently enabled. So in order to enable it, what we do is we go up here to Customize, Extensions, and then we're going to go down and click the Spatial Analyst tool. Now it's enabled. Go back over here and hit Extract by Mask. Boom. All right, so our input raster is going to be our NLCD, National Land Cover Data Set. And our input raster or feature mask data is going to be our MCP100, not the buffer. We want the buffer to show up on the outside of our MCP. And then you're going to save it. The output raster you're going to want to save in a logical location. One of the issues that ArcGIS can have is if your path name is too long, it will not execute the command properly, or it'll just come up with some error. So what I've done to try and alleviate that, you may not have issues with this. It may just be the fact that I'm running things on Windows on top of a Mac. But what I've done to alleviate these issues is I actually just save them to my desktop and then I move them later. So once you have the appropriate location set up and it looks like everything's good to go, I can kind of show you how things look if you're going to have some errors. It doesn't seem to want to show up with an error here, but often it will show up with an error. I've already executed this. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time. I've already executed it, so just go in and save it to a location that's logical for you, where you can find it, and it will actually execute. I'm going to remove that, and then I'm just going to add the clipped version. So there you go. So you notice that it popped up and then disappeared. Well, one of the reasons, or the reason that it did that, is because of the order that I have them in the table of contents over here. So you're going to want to make a note of this for future projects, but you can just take those, you highlight them, and you drag them underneath your MCP NLCD data, and then it will allow the NLCD data to pop up top there. So let's look at this for a minute. See what kind of data we have in here. So one of the things that you'll notice if you do what I just did and pull up the attributes, you'll see I have this cover type column that you guys do not have, and that's because I added it on my own. What you'll want to do is you'll want to add a similar column, and the way that you do that is you'll go over here, you're going to right click, edit feature, you're going to hit start editing, and then you can add a field. And once you add that field, then you can start adding data to it and editing the data in it. And once you're done, you can go up here to the editor toolbar and hit save edits and then stop editing, and it will save all the edits that you just created inside this data set. If you don't see this editor toolbar, you'll go over to Customize, Toolbars, and then go down and click the editor toolbar, and that will pop up and you'll be able to edit things and save edits and all that kind of stuff. So I've already done that and added this column because it's just easier to work with. These keys really don't mean anything to me, or these values don't mean anything to me. This is what's really important, this information. But one of the things that we run into when we see so many different cover types is some of these cover types, one, we're not really interested in how much we're using them, or we may just not be interested in the fact that whether or not we just want to know how much we're using developed space and not the difference between how much we're using open, low, medium, and high intensity developed. So we're going to combine some of these cover types to simplify this data set and make it easier for the analysis later on. So let's close that. In order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and type reclassify. And we're going to use the reclassify spatial analyst tool, not the reclassify 3D analyst tool. So just hit enter. Reclassify. And again, it's giving me these issues, so I'm going to sort by title, and that should help me. Yeah, you can see reclassify spatial analyst. So what you can see here is comes up with a number of different options. The input raster is going to be our MCP100 and LCD. You're going to reclassify it by cover type, and we're going to combine a bunch of these, as I said before, to streamline things a little bit. So for open water, we're going to put that as 1. For anything that is developed, we're going to put that as 2. Barren, we're going to change that to 3. Forested habitat, and change that to 4. Shrub and scrub and grassland and herbaceous, we're going to combine and make those value 5. Pasture and hay, we're going to combine with cultivated crops. And then woody wetlands and emergent wetlands, we're going to combine and just make new value 7. And then what you'll do again, you'll change your output raster to a logical location, give it a reasonable name like NLCD100 RC for reclass or something along those lines. I've already done this because, again, it can take a little bit of time, but you'll just hit OK. It should work fine. If it doesn't, come see me, and we'll try to work through some of the issues that you might be having. So let's go ahead and enter our new data set. So what you can see here is that we have a lot fewer cover types, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of this one since we reclassed everything. So now that we have our reclass data set and we have our MCPs and our buffers, we want to make these some logical colors. So the way to do that is you can just go in to double click that color box, fill color. I'm going to make this like a light blue. All right, and woody wetlands and emergent wetlands. All right, so what you can see here is that this is kind of our basic color structure. You can use whatever you want, just make sure that you're using colors that make sense. There's also something at the bottom of the Moodle site that helps you figure out how to make maps that look really nice. You'll want to take a look over that. I'm going to change this real quick so that we have a logical buffer. There we go. All right. Now we have this set up. What we want to do is actually add a key, a legend, north arrow, those kinds of things. So in order to do that, right now we're in data view. You can see where my cursor is here down on the lower left hand side of the screen. You're going to want to switch over to layout view. So you can see that looks kind of funky. It's zoomed out. And some of you probably already know how to do a lot of this stuff, so just fast forward through this section of the video. This is mainly for those folks who have never done this before. You're going to zoom to layer, and that will zoom in. Makes it a little bit easier to manage. One of the things that I really don't like when I'm making maps is you can see it has this border here. So you want to highlight it so that it's like that bright kind of blue color. Go down to properties, border, none. That way you can manipulate and put this thing wherever you want, and it's not an issue. I'm going to make that smaller. So you can spend a lot of time refining all these things, and that's up to you however you want to set it up. Just make sure it looks good. So we're going to add a couple more things. Go over to insert. We're going to add a title. One. And then add our name. All right, now one of the things that I really want you guys to put in here is an inset map so that we know roughly what the location is of your home range. In order to do that is you're going back to insert, and you're going to insert another data frame. You can see it comes up with a totally another data frame. I'm going to drop that down here in the corner. And again, I hate this line, so I am going to remove it again. You guys have this new data frame here down in the lower right hand corner. What you're going to want to do is add the border to the state of Minnesota there. And that has been posted online. You're going to want to download that along with the raster data set as I mentioned earlier. So you're going to go to add data, Minnesota. Okay. All right. I'm going to change the color of this. All right, and then if for some reason this isn't working, one of the things you want to do is you want to highlight it, right click on it, and then go down to activate, and that will allow make it possible for you to add data and remove data from this particular data frame. And then we're also going to add our buffer, our buffered data set. So go to add data, you'll see MCP 100 buffer. And you can see here it pops up down here where my home range is. I'm actually going to make this black so it stands out more. And there you go. You can see roughly where my home range is. And again, we're going to add a couple more things here. So we will add a legend. And you want to make sure that you have, see, that's one of the things I did. When you're going back and forth between these two data frames, it can be a little weird. You want to make sure that this one's activated so it will come up with the options that I need for this particular data frame. So again, go to insert, legend, and now you'll see that my my stuff came up that I need. So we're going to add both of these. We'll leave both of those in there. We'll delete that. It's pretty obvious that it's a legend. Next, next, and then finish. And it'll come up with the actual legend for us. Some of these are pretty stinking long, as you see. So there are different ways to get around this. One of the things that you can do is you can change it in here. You double click it, change it, it will change up here. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So you can change your names up here. Oops, I double click that. Open water. I'm just going to change this to developed. Leave that as barren. Forested. All right. So now that this is set, we're good to go here. One of the things that we can do is there's some stuff up here that's really pretty useless. So you're going to highlight that whole box, hit Convert to Graphics, and then ungroup, and it gives you a little bit more power to manipulate what's up here. So we will just delete that. We'll delete that. Oops. Bring these up here. And we'll give a little bit of space between MCP 100 buffer and the rest so that there's not some confusion about that being a particular kind of cover type. And if you want to manipulate this further, one of the things you can do is you can highlight that particular box, hit ungroup, and you can see now we have a colored box, and we can mess around with that. But really the power of doing this in my mind is being able to change the text. So there we go, MCP buffer. Then we'll just add a couple more things. We'll add a north arrow. This is a little bit too big to add a scale underneath it. So make it a little smaller, and then insert scale bar. And you can pretty much manipulate this however you want. And you can see it popped up right there. Pardon me. There you go. That's pretty much, this is roughly what I want from you guys. So, and you can manipulate the colors again as long as they're logical and they don't make me go blind when I'm looking at it. I'm happy with it. I just want to make sure that you guys know how to work through these steps and manipulate the data in ArcGIS in a way that makes sense, because these tools are going to become extremely useful later on as well. So now the last step is we want to, you'll want to save this map setup. So I've already saved mine as HomerangeME. I'm just going to override it. Yes. So you want to save that, and then you're going to want to export this as a PDF, and the PDF is what I actually want you guys to submit on Moodle. So you can see here, HomerangeME, I'll change that to Prelab1. You're going to check the PDF option here. I want your dots per inch to be, or your resolution to be 500. ramp this up to best, and that should pretty much do it. And click save. It'll take a minute to work. You're going to see like a progress bar here pop up. There you go. And then let's go and make sure that's saved correctly. There it is. So this is what you guys are going to, again, this is what you're going to submit online. And this is pretty much it. It's pretty much all I want. Feel free to ask questions if you have questions. And also, I'd like to encourage you guys to use the forum on Moodle so that other students can help work out solutions if you run into problems. But I am more than happy to help you guys out. I actually really enjoy helping you guys a lot with these kinds of issues and problems, because these skills are really translatable to lots of other things that we'll be doing in the lab, but also skills that future employers will want you to have as well. So that ends the first tutorial video for Prelab 1, and I'll see you guys next time.